This program is made by MPT to serve all of our diverse communities and is made possible by the generous support of our members. Thank you.
Maryland Drinking Water, the journey from source to tap, is made possible in part by the Maryland Department of the Environment, working to protect and restore the quality of Maryland's air, water, and land resources. Water. Almost 2/3 of our bodies are made of it, and water sustains virtually all life on Earth. We can't afford to take it for granted. More than 2/3 of the planet is covered with water, but 97% of this is salt water. 2% is frozen in glaciers, and 1% or less is fresh water, safe and accessible for drinking. No new water is created on Earth. Water is just endlessly recycled. So even as populations and demand increase, freshwater resources do not. We are used to hearing about the scarcity of fresh water in the American West and on other continents, like Africa. Some even warn that competition for clean drinking water in the future could eclipse this century's struggle over oil, with repercussions locally, regionally, and globally. And so in Maryland, as across the world, water scarcity is an increasingly urgent issue. Our survival depends on sustainably managing and protecting our freshwater resources. So stay tuned for Maryland Drinking Water, the journey from source to tap. Hi, I'm Sheila Cutchlow. Most people turn on the tap and never think about where their fresh, clean water comes from. Maryland has coastlines on two major bodies of water, the Chesapeake Bay and the Atlantic Ocean. But that's all salty water. We can't drink it without expensive treatment. Most of the fresh water we use to drink, cook, bathe, grow crops, drive industry, and produce electricity comes from water flowing in rivers or streams, or stored beneath the land's surface. The quantity of our water supplies depends upon the amount of precipitation we get as rain and snow. In Maryland, precipitation varies from east to west and from season to season. Topography and geology, meaning the lay of the land and the kinds of soil and rock that lie beneath the surface, are important too. They determine how much water is available. Maryland has sea-level lowland coasts and plateaus and mountains. So the geography of our water supply varies too. Today, almost 3/4 of Maryland's drinking water comes from surface water, flowing in streams, rivers, and lakes. Most large urban and public water systems use surface water. The rest of our supply comes from groundwater, which is really underground water, stored in rock and soils called aquifers. People and businesses that use wells are tapping into groundwater. For the most part, the central and western areas of Maryland depend on surface water. Eastern and southern Maryland depend mostly on groundwater. Water quality also affects where and how much water can be used for drinking. As water travels on or under the surface, It can transport naturally occurring minerals and contaminants from animal and human activity. Viruses and bacteria can come from livestock, wildlife, or human sewage. Some impurities occur naturally and can leach from soil or rock into the water. These can include metals like iron, manganese, and arsenic, along with radioactive substances. Other contaminants come from wastewater, farming, highway de-icing, septic systems, industry, and petrochemicals. Small amounts of some impurities don't necessarily make water unsafe to drink, but larger amounts could pose a health risk. That's why protecting water quality is an important part of protecting water supply. So with all this complexity, who's minding the store? Our water stores, I should say.
The Maryland Department of the Environment is the state's environmental regulatory agency, and one of our main missions is to ensure that all Marylanders have safe and adequate supply of water.
Maryland Department of the Environment has the regulatory oversight of more than 3,500 water systems throughout the state. Our oversight covers from source to tap. Major components are approving the source, monitoring for more than 90 different contaminants, making sure the design and construction of water treatment plants is in accordance with the standard, having the field inspection, looking at the reports, certifying the operators, making sure they have the proper training. Laboratories that analyze water are certified. And if for any reason water quality changes, the public will be notified.
Identifying sources is only the beginning of understanding our water supplies. How water goes from its source to your tap is a complex process. We've seen that our water supplies are replenished by rain and snowmelt. Groundwater seeps through soil or rock into underground aquifers, and some returns to streams. Water also runs off the surface of the land and flows into streams, which flow into rivers, which are then tapped for drinking water. In Maryland, more than 3,500 public water systems serve 4.3 million people. These include small systems serving at least 25 people, to Baltimore's large system serving 1.6 million. The state's two largest public systems serve Baltimore and Maryland's portion of the Washington metropolitan area. Metropolitan Washington draws its drinking water from the Potomac River. Baltimore draws water from reservoirs formed by damming the Gunpowder Falls and Patapsco rivers. Of course, raw water taken from rivers and reservoirs needs to be treated before it's ready to drink. This water treatment plant at Ashburton is one of 3 operated by the Baltimore City Department of Public Works. Mike Kohler, drinking water production manager for all of Baltimore City's filtration plants, gives an overview of how water flows in and out of the Ashburton plant.
The water begins its journey at the Liberty Reservoir and flows by gravity to the Ashburton filtration plant, where it is treated and turned into drinking water. It then goes from the Ashburton filtration plant to the Ashburton Reservoir, located nearby, and then is distributed to homes and businesses.
Untreated water becomes safe drinking water inside this filtration plant through a multi-step 24/7 process. The raw water enters the plant through huge underground pipes. The first treatment step is disinfection. Very important.
This complicated system of storage tanks, pumps, and pipes feeds a high concentration bleach solution into the raw water and disinfects it. This eliminates the disease-producing microorganisms and ensures water quality.
After disinfection, the water is treated with a chemical called alum. alum helps suspended particles clump together or coagulate.
The particulates grow in size as they stick together and settle out in the large sedimentation basins that you see. This process removes 80 to 90% of the silt and mud in the treatment stream.
From the sedimentation basins, the water flows back inside and through a huge bank of sand filters that remove any remaining particles. Every 60 hours, the filters are cleaned. Once impurities are removed, certain chemicals are added to ensure our drinking water is safe and healthy to drink. Lime adjusts the water's acidity level to help maintain the integrity of the pipes in the distribution system. Fluoride is added last to help reduce cavities in our teeth. The water is tested throughout the treatment process, on site and round the clock. The Maryland Department of the Environment reviews more than 40,000 test results of water systems throughout the state annually.
Everything is normal.
Operators constantly monitor the plant's computerized systems from the control room.
Any spikes in anything?
No spikes at all.
Okay, that's good.
Another set of supervisors in the secure, state-of-the-art Master Control Center oversee distribution of the treated water from the plant to the public.
This is the Water Distribution System's Telemetry Control Center. It's from here that the area's water pumping stations are completely operated. This operation station is under computer control and monitored by 2 operators and supervisors 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The Telemetry Control Center also has a status board that can be monitored for all the facilities in the system. And in fact, it shows an entire mock-up of the entire water system. Pumping stations, filtration plants, and treated water storage reservoirs and tanks can all be monitored from this location in real time.
The treated water leaves the filtration plant through huge pipes and is stored in a variety of water impoundments and towers. The treated water travels from storage through a network of pipes and pumps under our cities and streets, and finally into our homes and businesses, where we simply turn on the tap. And voila!
When you open the tap and you get a glass of water, you may not realize that a lot of professionals behind this process make sure the water that is delivered to customers is safe.
We all use water in virtually every aspect of our lives. At home, at work, even in recreation. The industries and commerce that support our lives need water too, from farms that grow our food to power plants that generate the electricity that we use in the towns and cities where we live and work. By far, the biggest demand on our water resources comes from providing public water to an increasing population and to expanding urban-suburban development. Demand in Maryland for drinking water is 1.4 billion gallons a day. Of that, the largest two users are the metropolitan areas of Baltimore and Washington, D.C. Thermoelectric power plants are second in freshwater use. Private and public wells, agriculture, industries and businesses use the rest. So the question is, do we have enough water to meet our needs now and in the future? Will we have enough water to meet growing demand? In fact, a 3-year study by local, state, regional, and federal scientists and officials warns of potential shortages in some areas of the state unless steps are taken now to protect and manage our water resources for the future. The population of Maryland is over 5.6 million. By 2030, Maryland could be home to almost 7 million people. This growth will impact water quality, quantity,
summer, the water levels decline precipitously and critically low levels,
and the environment. People and businesses may find themselves competing for water. New developments can siphon off water needed by nearby farms, older neighborhoods, and aquatic ecosystems. Part of the challenge of meeting future water needs is the fact that we need more information about how much water is available across the complex geography of the state.
The department worked very closely with the Governor's Advisory Committee on Water Supply in Maryland, chaired by the late Professor Reds Wallman from Johns Hopkins University, and they recommended that we initiate a set of new studies to look at the quantity and quality of water across the state of Maryland. And we have been working on those studies over the last couple of years, and this will provide us the scientific information and technical information we need to ensure a long-term sustainable supply of water for Maryland.
Another challenge, as we look to the future, is the condition of the existing drinking water infrastructure, which includes miles and miles of aging, collapsing pipes. Water main breaks are becoming routine news. Meanwhile, agricultural runoff, septic systems, polluted stormwater, and some commercial and industrial activities threaten surface and groundwater and wells. Some Maryland treatment plants require major upgrades, while new filtration plants may be needed to keep up with growth. All of these challenges are occurring in uncertain times, with shrinking budgets and expanding regulations.
One of our biggest long-term challenges is the possible effects of climate change on our water supplies. Some of the projections indicate that we're going to see longer periods of dry weather, particularly in the summertime when our demand for water is at the highest. So it's absolutely critical that we have the best science and monitoring information to guide our regulatory programs to ensure long-term sustainable supply for Maryland.
In spite of the uncertainties about our water supplies, one thing is for sure. One of the most effective and economical strategies for ensuring a sustainable water future is conservation. For many, using water is an unthinking habit built on a presumption of abundance. The average person in Maryland uses almost 100 gallons of water per day. We can actually get by with less than that. About 70% of residential water is used indoors. In the kitchen, bathroom, and laundry. Common sense ways to save water and money. Fix leaky faucets, toilets, and pipes. A leaky faucet can waste 4,000 gallons a year. Replace old fixtures with water-saving toilets, faucets, and low-flow shower heads. While you're waiting for tap water to warm up, collect the running cold water in a container. Use it to water your plants, garden, and pets. Take shorter showers and turn off the water until you need it while you brush your teeth, soap up, or shave. Run the dishwasher and washing machine when you have full loads, rather than doing a lot of little loads. About 30% of the water we use residentially is outside. Here's some important tips. Use sprinkler systems sparingly on your lawn and garden. Don't water the sidewalk or driveway. If you water the lawn, do it during the coolest part of the day, usually morning, to minimize evaporation. Increase your grass mowing height to 2 to 3 inches to reduce evaporation.
We all use water, and it's really important that we all think about how we use water and the ways that we can conserve water at home. If you visit MDE's website, you'll find a lot of tips for ways that individuals can use less water.
The people of Maryland enjoy a high standard of living. To sustain our prosperity, we can't take our precious water resources for granted. With planning, funding, and conservation, we can ensure that generations to come enjoy an ample supply of safe drinking water in thriving communities across the state. Maryland Drinking Water, the journey from source to tap, was made possible in part by the Maryland Department of the Environment, working to protect and restore the quality of Maryland's air, water, and land resources.